Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, run it back. Run it up, then run it back.
Oh, we're back in studio, bright and early on the West Coast. Welcome. This is Run It Back. My name's Michelle. My friends Chandler and Lou Will here on the end. How are we all feeling, guys?
Come on.
I don't know what you want us to say.
Come on.
You're not tomato red today.
Yeah, where'd it go? That was bad lighting. That's all that was.
March Madness is upon us, so Villanova legend Kris Jenkins. He'll have some stories to share with us a little bit later on, but the league is crazy and we're in the final stretch. Things are moving, y'all, and we're gonna start this time in Detroit. JB Bickerstaff. Not pleased. And by the way, not the first guy to not be pleased with officiating when it comes to playing the Oklahoma City Thunder. A lot of coaches have come out and said that the calls that the Thunder tend to get seem to be a little bit difficult, specifically SGA on the side of the competitor. And another level it was taken to on Saturday after the Pistons took a tough loss to the Thunder. And there were a couple very questionable calls. Here's JB Bickerstaff.
I'm disgusted by the way that game was officiated. The level of disrespect was above and beyond. They have a guy fall down and trip on his own teammate's foot. They review us for a hostile act. They throw an elbow to our chest, neck area. I ask for him, at least take a look at it, right? Just show us the respect to take a look at it, okay? No one would take a look at it, okay? The disrespect has gone far enough, and I'm not gonna allow our guys to be treated the way that they were treated tonight. Okay, I tried to have a conversation with official. The official was arguing with Mark. I say his name one time, and he screams at me and tells me that's enough, right? We understand that we play a style of ball that's physical, it's on the edge, right? I coach my ass off with a passionate way. I'm into the games. Our players are into the games. We understand that, right? But we deserve a level of respect because we're competing our tails off and bringing something positive to this league. Right, we're growing young players. Our young players are competing their tail off. The least that they could do is get the same respect that everybody else in this league gets and get refereed the same way that everybody else in this league gets reffed. And enough is enough of it. And what you saw tonight was disgusting. It was a disgusting display of disrespect towards our guys and what we're trying to do.
Fire me up.
By the way, it was just very, very smooth, very chill, and then it built. Is that the most animated you've seen him?
I've seen him pretty animated, but yeah, I mean, and you know what? He's right. And listen, he didn't say anything too disrespectful here. He's clearly upset, and you just want a fair shot, right? And as a coach, as a player, you just want consistency. So when you see, if you're going to ref the game tight for both teams and ref tight for 48 minutes. You can't change the way you have the whistle throughout the game, depending on runs or who's up or who's down. All they want is consistency. So when you have these, and then when they reviewed half of these plays, they were so bad and they were so wrong, where I understand where he's coming from. And they are building something here. And it might be a respect level where this is just the Pistons that are on the rise, and this is the best team in the West. I don't think that really matters in this situation. And the refs, again, I usually take the ref side because they're trying to do the right thing. But when you review a play like this, and they still get it wrong, and they still don't fix what the mistake was. That's where I have.
Why are you laughing?
Why are you laughing?
Nah, because you're usually on the referee side.
Well, they're humans and they make mistakes. They're not trying to mess up calls, but like when they review it and they still don't get it right, that's where it confuses me. And like some of these reviews were a joke, and that's where so I'm with JB, and I think as a team, first of all, as a player on the Pistons, you have to love. Like, this just got me fired up right now, just listening to it, and this is 100% genuine and real, but it's just frustrating. You just want consistency, and you don't want to feel like you're getting. You don't want to say the C word either, but you don't want to feel like you're getting cheated out of a win, and that's kind of
whoa, which C word?
And that's what he felt.
But if I'm his players, I love the fact that he's going to bat for us. Like, that keeps a lot of your star players off of the TV, out of news reporters. That keeps them out of the news because you're stepping up and you're taking this bullet for your guys. So I love the passion. He made some great points. Look, we're up and coming. We got young guys that are making a positive impact on this league from last year to this year. We look like a completely different team. And these guys are earning their keep. They're earning their names, and they're going to go through the fire now. This is one game that he has this gripe about, and it looks like this is a continuation of something else that he's experienced other than this one particular game. And this is great. If I'm on the Detroit Pistons, I love the fact that this is the message that's coming from my coach and how he's going to bat for us. So I love it. He's gonna get fined 25 to 50 grand, I'm sure, for that. But it's going to be money well spent, because if you can come in the practice facility that next day and your guys know that they have a coach that's standing alongside of them instead of feeding them to the wolves and allowing this to go on and on, I love it. I love the message.
I like the slow burn of the rant itself. Where are we putting it in the rant so far this season?
It's some classics out there, but
it's a nice one.
Yeah,
because you got to stick till the end, and then you get it.
And this was poised. This wasn't. He didn't even really curse.
Like a lawyer.
He didn't say anything too disrespectful. He made valid points. And again, as a coach, when you're trying to have a conversation with the ref and he kind of blows you off, and then as he's talking to the other coach, that feels a little bit slighted and disrespected and offensive. So I get. And by the way, there are 2 games that have the home court advantage. So all these games, all these possessions matter, and no one expected them to be here, and they are here, and they want to be treated with the same respect that these other great teams are being treated at, and clearly it feels like they're not.
Wait, we have a guess on the fine, 25. What do we?
I don't think they should fine him anything, first of all, because he is right, but I think...
You know it doesn't work like that.
I think 25K should be the most. Again, it was nothing foul. It was nothing...
Yeah, he didn't... It's like there was no obscenity.
I think this is... I agree with you, Beadle. I think this is a 25 piece. The slam on the desk might get him an extra 25 just so they can... just so they can set, tops. Yeah, just so they can set an example for other coaches to make it look like it was something other than that. I think this is a normal fine. I think he went into this knowing he was going to get fined, so you might as well get your money's worth. That's what we say as players. If you're going to get kicked out of a game, it's going to be the same fine. Go ahead, throw your jersey, do whatever you're going to do. It's going to be the same fine. And so I'm looking at him getting probably 25, but 50 max.
But you made a good point too. As a player, this is awesome, because if Cade Cunningham or another player, they wouldn't have said it so respectfully, and they would probably end up getting fined like 100 grand. So I love that the coach, right after, goes up and takes all the bullets. He's getting a standing ovation.
It's like a legal closing argument.
It was great.
He nailed it.
It was well done.
Here's the thing, though, right? Because against the Thunder now, we have heard from Bickerstaff, Malone, and Finch, all talking about the reffing during Thunder games.
It's not the Thunder, it's SGA. And again, I know he's massive. Just like James Harden, the referees had to switch up basically how they called the game when they used to referee James Harden. Yeah. They're almost going to have to start doing that now against SGA, because he's gotten so good and he's so crafty at getting the whistle. And I know they put in the flop fines, but he doesn't even really flop, because every time he does it, there is contact. And when you review it and they slow it down, it's still a foul. I just think it's a little bit exaggerated of how he does it, but it's also part of the game, and he's gotten really good at it, and there's no way really to defend that. That's why he's so good. He stops and goes on a dime. He's mastered that. So I think as just a league, or do they change the rule like they did for James Harden just because he's so good at that?
It's chess, man. He's learned the master of angles, knowing where your hands are, being aware of the rules, knowing how games are being officiated, and he's taking advantage of it. Now, here's the other side of that, Coach. He had 48 that game. Only 10 of those in free throws. Jeez. We can't blame all of this on refereeing. Now, I do understand the sentiment of what you were saying in the rant, but he's still going out there scoring a basketball. And with that, when you score at a high clip like that, you use all of these things to your advantage. You know teams, you look at personnel, you look at guys scouting you the same way any other team. And you know the guys that are going to be aggressive. You know the guys that are going to have their hands in the cookie jar, who's going to jump on pump fakes and all of those things. And if you take advantage of that part, then so be it. That makes you a smarter basketball player. So some of the onus has to be on the defender, knowing that coming into the game. And like you just mentioned, like when you play James Harden, you know not to foul him on threes.
You couldn't swipe down.
You know not to swipe down. So some of that is scout report, But other than that, you're looking at the early stages of a young superstar learning the ins and outs of the game, playing the game inside of the game.
And that's where the frustration, I think, comes from teams guarding SGA and even SGA as the one creating all this, because some nights he's getting the call, some nights he's not. First quarter, he might get it. Fourth quarter into the game, he's not. So I think as a ref, I think the hardest thing is to be consistent, because if you're going to beginning of the game, the captains meet. Hey, we're going to let you guys play a little bit tonight. So at least that's got to be consistent for 48 minutes. And they'll talk to you. They'll tell you that. But they can't switch up the whistle throughout the game depending on how close or how far the game is away. You have to be consistent. So I think that's where the frustration comes from with JB when those calls aren't consistent throughout the whole game.
I think it was like two big scenarios where he really felt like he was getting screwed in that game. It was two really big scenarios, and then once you have that and it carries over to a tough loss, that's where you get the outbursts like this. But he's right, man. He has some young guys, but it's going to take some time. They're going to earn it at some point. This is going to be an argument that other teams are going to make with Cade Cunningham once he figures out a way to add 4 to 6 points to his scoring average just by baiting guys in the free throws.
There was the one, remember the hostile act on Isaiah Stewart, where he literally just kind of like moved Jalen Williams, and they reviewed it for a hostile act. I'm like, what?
But you know, that's reputation.
Yeah,
that's a reputation.
Unfortunately. Because he's awesome. That's why.
Yeah.
Check that out. Regular season and playoffs, by the way, on the reffing side of things, does it change dramatically?
It's not. I wouldn't say dramatically, because it turns into a half-court game. Now, if we're still talking SGA specifically, the way that he baits guys into fouls, that's not going to change. He's ripping through. He's getting guys in the air. He's getting hit on jump shots. Those things won't change playoff basketball. Now, will there be more physicality? Will they allow a lot of things to go, allow these guys to decide the outcome of the basketball game without the whistle? Much as they can, that's going to be the part that they're going to change. But the way that SGA is doing it, he's going to be fine in the playoffs. These teams just got to understand scouting report, and they got to make adjustments.
Yeah, it's more just the physicality, right? It's more to get, you're not going to get those same tic-tac calls. You're not going to get the hand check in as much. They're going to let them play in the playoffs more, which is silly to me. They should let them play throughout the whole season. Because how are you supposed to adjust and, run scouting or anything if you're going to be officiated completely different? It's similar, but it's definitely more physical. And like Lou said, it's slow. It's a slower game. It's a slower pace. You let the players decide the outcome more so in the playoffs.
Let's look at some happy times, okay? So the SGA playmaking situation. We put together a nice little video here. Lou, if you'd like to take us through his shot creation.
Yeah.
Well, that's dumb. That was
more so than shot creation. He's creating space, right? That's what,
so much space.
And that's what makes him dangerous. And that's how he gets fouled on a lot of these attempts, like step back right there. So when you have a guy, when you make a guy touch earth and he's trying to recover, it's easy to pump fake that guy when he's recovering on a play to get him in the air. It's easy to get that guy to come back and recover and realize he's off balance and his hands are out there. That's playing the game inside of the game. He's been able to take advantage of that. He's added this to his game, man. And so right here, snatch back. So boom, second, what Malik Beasley, first thing that Malik Beasley does, he leads with his body, his arms are out. If I don't have a clear run to the basket, I'm finding your hands and I'm getting my 2 free throws. One way or another, I'm gonna win this matchup every single time down the court. So I just seen 6 clips of guys touching earth. Referees can't help that.
Multiple times.
Yeah, referees can't help that. So when you're at a guy's mercy like that can score the basketball, that can create space like that, he's gonna be an advantage of that matchup every single time, and he's using it to his advantage to average nearly 10 free throws a game. It is what it is.
If I've seen a guy stop on a dime like that and change direction without pushing off, he never gets offensive foul calls either, because he's got that unbelievable skill to stop and change speeds and change and change direction. So he's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, that was a fun video. Okay, so we've got some Knicks talk, okay? There was a moment in time where this seemed like it was going to be a fun story all the way through the season, but then reality sets in. So they've been able to stay a bit above water without Jalen Brunson, but Sham, shout out, reported over the weekend that the new timetable for Brunson is now either late March or early April.
That's not good.
No, it's not good, Lou. And I'm wondering, even then, are you concerned about what he will be like during the playoffs?
I'm not concerned with him in the playoffs. I'm concerned with the Knicks and where they are until he gets back. They're 3-2. They're weathering the storm, but who have they beaten? They're still losing to the top 2 teams in the East and the West. We're getting to the playoffs. These are the matchups we're looking at. We know they're a good basketball team, but now this is a time of year where the good and the great, they're going to separate themselves. And right now, the Knicks are on the other side of great. They're not on the side of good, especially with Brunson being out of this lineup. That's what I'm more concerned about now. As far as his ankle injury, once you're back on the court with an ankle injury, 9 times out of 10, you feel normal. The thing that's a crazy caveat to an ankle injury is just how annoying and nagging it is that it goes on. But once it's healed, you feel like you're 100%. The knee injuries and all of those things, they usually stay in play for a while. I think ankles are a little different. So I don't see a problem with him returning and him not being as explosive and all these other things that he's always been. I think he'll fit right in. But I'm just concerned about this team going into that stretch. If they're another 14 to 21 days away from having him on the court, who knows what happens with this team.
Yeah, a sprained ankle to me is honestly the best case scenario. It's not like it's a calf or a hamstring that's going to continue to linger and that could get worse that then requires surgery. This is staying off it. This is getting proper rest, proper rehab, which he clearly is during this time off. And if you tell me right now Jalen Brunson's out and this team stays afloat and goes 500 or slightly above 500, I think that is a win because Jalen Brunson is their everything. He controls their entire offense. He's the engine that makes them run. So with him out, that is a huge hole. They have to find stuff from Deuce McBride. They have to find stuff from Campaign. You know, OG's been really good since he's been out. Mikal Bridges, so you have to find stuff collectively when you have a guy that produces so much to go out. And they've done a decent job of doing that. Again, they play the Heat tonight. They think that that's a very winnable game. So I think they can continue to win games just off their defense. Somehow they're a better offensive team than defensive team this year, which is surprising because with that starting five should be a really, really good defensive team. But yeah, I think the sprained ankle, it's a little concerning just because it keeps adding time, and that's weird with a sprained ankle. Usually it's pretty set. It's pretty, normal protocol to get you back on the court. So this is a little concerning, but as long as he's full speed for the playoffs, I think that's what they're going for.
It's the full speed, I think people are probably concerned for the whole team in general. Last week was weird too, because the Mikal Bridges TIBS thing. Mikal Bridges telling the media that they'd met, and he said maybe the starters should get fewer minutes and let some of the bench dudes play. TIBS then came out and said that conversation never actually happened. And I don't know, Chandler. I don't know if there's something to be read into this, that there's a fatigue factor setting in, or like, why would this story even come out at all?
Well, it's weird that they're not on the same page. Right. Usually you kind of keep that kind of stuff in-house, or you have the conversation before just for this to not happen. They say completely different things. That's a little awkward, but I've seen the videos of, Hart and Brunson on their podcast and TIBS calls, and it's all funny and it's good banter. So I don't think there's anything hostile here. I think there's probably a lot of ups and downs when you play for a guy like Thibodeau. And again, I think it can be you're getting your ankles taped for shoot around, like stuff like that players just hate. I'm sure that gets old real quick, especially when you're playing so many minutes and your rotations are already short. You're not the deepest team in the league, but I think it's all love here. I don't think there's much here. I think this is just a miscommunication somehow that got out in the public.
It's a pretty big miscommunication. For one to say we had a conversation.
Well, him just saying it never happened is very strange.
It's either it did or it didn't.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out at what point does TIBS take the hint, the elephant in the room that this is something that should be explored. Now, I'm not trying to tell him how to coach. I've never worn that hat before, and this is something that he's been excellent at. I think TIBS is an excellent coach, but he also has the reputation of running his guys in the ground and them not having enough to get the job done. And so while we're having this conversation at this point in the season, you kind of got to start listening. You got to start listening to your guys. Like, even if this conversation was had or wasn't had, at this point it's played out in the public so we can have an opinion about it. These guys are telling you they're tired. They're telling you that they want rest, and they want to go into the postseason feeling just as fresh as any other team, especially if they're going to give themselves a chance to compete for a championship and come out of the East. They already have their struggles with Cleveland, and they have their struggles with Boston. You don't want these guys to also be fatigued and trying to take these guys down. So with this conversation between Josh and Mikal Bridges and TIBS and it playing out in the public, this is an opportunity for TIBS to actually have a conversation with his guys and say, what's needed? We should be all in this together. It shouldn't be a TIBS versus the guys or the guys versus playing minutes. Like, you've never seen a team full of guys complain about playing too much.
Right.
That's something that we... It's usually the opposite.
It's usually the opposite. And so with these guys telling you that is alarming, and it should be something that he should consider listening to.
But I don't think he can.
And this has been his MO his whole career, right? He's done this every stop he's been at.
It'd be cool if he tried it, right?
This is his MO. And
just try it.
And it hasn't worked, though. It hasn't worked. The ultimate goal is to win a championship. At least get to the championship.
Or at least, don't get to a certain point, and then injuries and everybody's just not available.
Everything that points to being played and being overplayed leads to you not being able to fulfill what's expected of you and what you're responsible for doing. That's going out and competing for a championship. And then you get to the Marches and you get to the Aprils and you start seeing guys have injuries that are related to being overplayed. That's when this starts to have a conversation. But, Chandler just mentioned it. That's his MO. I don't think he's going to change it. At this point, he's stubborn in his ways as a coach, and it is what it is.
I know, but it would be crazy and refreshing if he did try it. There was a moment between he and Josh Hart, actually during a game, not just on the podcast. But you know what? I feel like this is just sort of a relationship, right? Afterwards, they said there's no big deal here. Wow, that's actually...
Yeah, and listen, when you have a personal relationship with your coach, things like this are okay. You challenge one another, you try and get the best out of each other, and as long as you know it's not personal and it doesn't carry over, I think that's fine. I've had plenty of days, like JB Bickerstaff's my guy. We've mother-effed each other nonstop during the court, and afterwards, you know what? We go get a drink, we have dinner, and it's fine. It's nothing personal. But you have to have that relationship outside the court, out of that facility, to establish kind of that mutual respect. So I don't think...
It's not a big deal, but again, all of these things begin to be magnified when you're having a conversation out in public, especially with the narrative that's coming out of your camp. One guy saying you're having a conversation about something, THIBS come out and say we never had that conversation, and then this plays out on camera. It's a bad look, especially with this team not having Jalen Brunson in that lineup, and they're going to go through a thing. They're 3-2 right now, but again, let's look at the teams that they've won these games against. So you're looking at the quality of wins, you're looking at who they're competing against, and the optics are bad. So I don't love this look for the New York Knicks, but again, when you have these exchanges with coaches, it could be a big deal, it could not be a big deal. Everybody says cool is cool, but obviously there's something brewing underneath in New York.
All right, Lou, if it started today, they'd play the Pistons.
Yeah.
What kind of expectations do you have for this Knicks team, really?
That would be a tough matchup for the New York Knicks. I like where Detroit is going. And again, when you're an up-and-coming team and you're hungry and you have an opportunity to knock off a team that they feel like is a better team than you, you're looking at a really, really good, young, motivated basketball team. They have toughness. They got guys that like to fight. They like to mix it up.
Yes, they do.
You got really good basketball players. You got hard workers. You got good coaching. You have the perfect storm to be a team that's going to be disruptive in the playoffs. And right now with the New York Knicks coming into the playoffs like this, with them not being on the same page of communication, let alone not having your superstar guard on the floor for another few weeks, and what his impact would be once he gets back on the court, it would look a little shaky for New York. I still would have them coming out on top, but I think they would get everything they're looking for in a fight if the Detroit Pistons was to be that team to match up with them.
Yeah, if you look at this, they're going to play the Pistons, the Pacers, or the Bucks.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to play out. And so none of those.
I don't want the Pacers.
None of those
Boring.
but none of those are an easy series.
Yeah, we want the Pacers to stay 4-5 with Milwaukee. Y'all stay there.
I feel like Knicks Pistons is an exciting match.
Knicks Pistons would be great. And again, people were saying that New York Knicks on paper are the best roster preseason going into this season. They have so much championship hopes. No one saw Cleveland doing what they're doing. Obviously, Boston's well respected, but they're going to have a tough time getting out of the first round, let alone compete for a championship. So no matter who they play, they've got to be healthy. They've got to be whole.
Good luck with that. We are going to take a quick break. It is March. The madness is upon us. After the break, Kris Jenkins. We're going to relive the greatest moment. 2016, ladies and gents.
Run it back, yeah. Run it up, run it back.
Welcome back to Run It Back. Guys, are you going to do it? Act it out. Okay, no, you're not going to act it out.
The fact that we can't show the shot is
well, because
devastating.
we're going to have a guy on right now that produced one of the most memorable moments in March Madness history. Kris Jenkins, right now, from the 2016 Villanova championship run. We were going to act out the shot for you, but I felt like if we'd done it wrong, you would have been
Hold that thing up.
Cash.
It would have been awesome. All right, take us through it. Every year at this time, do you just sort of go, and then tell everybody about it? Like, how does this work?
It usually works by me getting sent the video by somebody recording it on TV, like, oh, look, here you go, and usually spark some conversation. But, I'm very appreciative. I was a part of a great team with a lot of elite players. I feel myself, I'm very lucky, very fortunate for my college career that I had to play along a lot of great guys and be coached by Jay Wright. So, I was just fortunate for sure.
The dapper Jay Wright. All right, who was the shot against again, if you could remind us?
It was against my brother, Nate Britt, who was also a junior at the University of North Carolina. So it makes it a little bit special.
That's got to be
insane.
Like the ultimate insult to injury.
Yeah, so that team, by the way, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, Pascal. Think about how many players in the NBA that you guys produced. That good top 5 team ever all time. I know you got to put the Florida Gators 07 in there with JOKIC, but are we talking top 5 ever? Are we talking best team ever?
I tend to go back and forth between our team in 16 and then the team that they had again in 2018, which had a lot of those younger guys in 16. But I put us up there with any team kind of in college, but you know how that kind of goes. It's just who has the best day that game.
Kris, I want to ask you, over the weekend, You guys fired head coach Cal Neptune after 3 seasons. As a big-time alumni, where would you like to see the direction that the program go to? Anybody that you would like to see replace him at the head coaching position?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. That's tough. First I want to show Cal love, because Cal, his first year as an assistant coach was my freshman year in 2013. So, we love Cal. He's been a part of our Villanova basketball family, and we wouldn't be the program that we are without his contributions. But we definitely want to show him some love and let him know that he's still a part of our family, and that'll never change. But as far as the new search that's coming, the alumni, we're just going to support whichever direction the school goes in. That's where we're at now. The school means a lot to us. A lot of us have put our bodies and our hearts on the line for the university. So we're just going to support and continue to show love to whoever gets the job, and hopefully we can get right back on track here. Understood.
And Chandler just mentioned all of the guys that were on that Villanova team, and you once said in an interview, when you're at Villanova, you sign up to be a team-oriented guy, and once you go to the pros, you basically become your own CEO of your company, and you're absolutely right. Everybody becomes their own brand in business. Do you think that's changed in college basketball with the NIL stuff right now?
I love the NIL, Lou and Chandler and Michelle, because it forces the college coaches, one, to be honest, and they have to be even more legit now than they've ever been before in their lives as a coach. You can't finesse and hold guys back, and if a guy feels like you're hindering his success, he's just gonna hop into the portal. Right. And do that to everybody, you won't have a team and a job. So it forces college coaches to be more legit. But I just feel like it's a different time. We shouldn't look at it through the lens of the old school way. We just have to adjust and adapt, just like anything in life, and move forward.
But how frustrating is that for a coach? Like, say Villanova is giving you 200 grand, you weren't really stoked with your playing time, and then Texas next summer is going to give you 250 grand. You're just out, right? There's no accountability. Like, how do you decipher?
I just seen, I forget his name, but he said 80% of his team is in the portal this year.
Like, Florida right now has this the white dude Tommy Houck on he's already getting offers to transfer. And the tournament hasn't even started. I'm like, how are we supposed to keep this guy?
You're not.
I mean, that's definitely one of the flaws of the system. But just like the old system, nothing about it is going to be perfect. It's been 150, 200 years of it being kind of a bad situation. So now that it's in favor of the players, I'm kind of like, yeah, well, it was regulated against the players. Now that it's in favor, you kind of need to let it be for a little bit before you regulate it.
I bet contracts are coming at some point.
Now we can just do it. It just doesn't have to be under the table.
Yeah, I think there'll be something coming.
Because, Chris, I want to ask you this. Knowing what you know now, on that Nova championship team, who would have chased the bag on that team? Who would have chased the bag?
Oh, man, that's a good question.
All of y'all, honestly, everybody.
Yeah, to answer your question, all of us would have got paid, but at that time, a lot of our guys on that team, we came to Villanova probably taking a step back because guys could have probably went other places and had better careers and started other places. So with guys already having that kind of mindset, I know a lot of us that went to Villanova, we wanted to be stars at basketball schools, and Villanova was a basketball school. So if a football school was going to come and throw money at us, it would have had to have been like triple or quadruple the value.
That's a fact.
Being a star at Villanova, playing in the Big East, playing in the Garden every year, Big East tournament, you could just set yourself up for life in a way that if you went to a football school, I don't know if it would be the same.
Yeah.
Man, we know how close the Villanova Knicks are. I just think it's funny saying it over and over again with the podcast and everything between Brunson and Hart. How close are all you guys really? Like, are there hangouts? People do you summer together? Like, what happens here?
Yeah, no, we all still keep in contact. We have this alumni event at Villanova every year where pretty much almost all of us come back, and some guys will play, but majority of it is just to get back around each other, show the love, continue the elite vibes that we always had when we were in school. And the relationships that we built, they were for a lifetime. We'll always be kind of looped in together. But it's just so awesome to see all those guys on the Knicks and to see them dominate and get ready to make their playoff push. I know y'all not too high on my guys right now, but
they're just worried.
To stop getting my guys
No, we just worried. They just playing too many minutes. We like the Knicks.
And by the way,
worried.
in January you tweeted Tibbs needs to stop running our guys into the ground. Then Bridges says he's asked to play less minutes, and then Tibbs comes out and says that conversation never happened.
We just concerned. We just concerned. That's all. We just concerned.
Come on, Kris.
First of all, is he playing too many minutes? Is he playing him too many minutes, and is he going to burn them out for the playoffs? Like, is that because this has always been his thing, right? From everywhere he's coached.
Yeah, he's not going to burn the guys out because those Villanova guys, they love basketball, and at the end of the day, we love to hoop. That's one thing about Villanova as well. If you didn't love basketball at that time period, you wouldn't have survived. But I do believe Thibs plays those guys a little bit too much. But like you said, we've seen that kind of throughout Thibs' career. So for Mikal to kind of have a comment like that, Mikal plays every game since I've ever known him, dating back to college. Mikal's never missed a practice or a game since I met him. So for him to come out and have a comment like that, it definitely raised my eyebrows, and it was alarming.
Just real quick on Donte DiVincenzo, because it just felt like it was almost too good to be true. We were actually going to get the entire Knicks team basically be Villanova. We know Jalen and here are besties. And then he leaves, and it felt like a bad, sad breakup. Like there was still love there, but he had to go. Like, how bad was it really?
It wasn't bad. It was tough because Donte, you know, he had just signed a contract, was about to get married, getting ready to have a kid. So, you know, you kind of feel like this is where you get ready to finish or have the best part of your career, and to kind of have that trade happen. It definitely didn't feel good. Some emotions were involved, but, you know, brothers get in fights all the time. As you can see on their podcast, they've spilled a couple of things that have happened in the locker room back in the day, but those are some of the good stories. They kept all the crazy ones to themselves.
All right, well, let me ask you about some of the crazy ones, you know, because we seen once DiVincenzo got traded, him and Josh Hart, it kind of looked like they wasn't really on the same page. Do you recall any real locker room beefs or guys being competitive back? Any stories you can tell me?
See, one thing I will say is that nothing ever really spilled over into the locker room. So whenever we were done with it on the court, we kind of left it there. But we all would get into it. I would get into it with Josh. Josh would get into it with Daryl. He would get into it with Daniel. Like, that was just what drove our energy at that time. That's how we all carried ourselves. That's what we thought we had to do to be successful and to help turn the program into a blue blood. And that's kind of what our focus was. So we definitely had some moments where it was some elbows thrown and some haymakers that might have been thrown. And
haymakers?
Wait,
you just breeze past haymakers.
Like that's nothing?
So the basketballs might have been chucked at a couple people, but for the most part, nobody really took no crazy spills, and we kept it clean. But I mean, there was high intensity, and Coach Wright was a super intense guy as well. So I don't want to say he fed into it, but no, he told the line with us.
And we see, obviously, the video that's just happened with Josh Hart and Tibbs getting into it. We talked about the minutes, and is he playing him too much? It's always going to be a topic of conversation when it comes to Tibbs. But how is their relationship off the court? When you see something like this, I just said I've had many of these with my coaches, but at least it wasn't personal because I had that relationship. Are these guys cool with Tibbs? Like, do they like Tibbs?
Yeah, man, those guys loves playing for Thibs, man. Thibs is a hard-nosed coach. He's going to coach you hard, but this is Josh. Josh is a passionate guy. He's a junkyard dog. He's going to give you everything that he's got, and the style of play that he plays, he's in a super intense mindset each and every second. So he may say some things that aren't nice or like your parents would say them, but you know, last time I checked, none of us look like each other's parents, so why would you expect for me to speak like that in a tough spot, you know?
God, that's awesome. The bad ankles. We know that Jalen Brunson wants to be out there playing all the time, and obviously now he's going to be out. Now that we have a bit of a timeline that seems a little longer than we initially thought. Have you talked to him? Like, how much does he just hate not being available for any of this?
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to talk to him because during the season, I try to give those guys their space because I know it's a lot coming at him, a lot going on. But, you know, Jalen he's a dog, man. He's a leader. He's a competitor. And, of course, he wants to be out there. But I think he wants to make a playoff push and bring the Knicks a championship more than anything. So I think he's going to play it safe and play it smart, most importantly. And, you know, Rick, his dad is over there, so they're going to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Kris, before I let you go, man, you know I'm Philly by nature, man. That's my second home. I want to hear your Mount Rushmore of Villanova guys. You got 4 spots. I want to hear your 4 guys.
Ouch.
Good luck.
That hurt. All right, well, I definitely got to go Jalen Brunson. He's number 1. Just graduated in 3 years, 2 national championships in 3 years, by like every All-American award, by Kuz. Like, so Jalen's probably the most decorated Villanova player, so he's definitely one.
Great start.
I got to throw Scotty Reynolds in there just because.
Shout out to Scotty. Scotty was I was in Philly when he was doing that.
Williams.
He was cooking at that time.
Yeah, man. Scotty gets kind of lost in the sauce just because he's kind of like a low-key guy. He likes to stay out of the way. But Scotty he was the 2nd all-time leading scorer in Villanova history. Eric Dixon just passed him. But, you know, Scoot was an amazing player. And then for 3, I would say this is where it gets tough. I would say Kyle Lowry, but his career was short at Villanova. But Kyle is
it's your Mount Rushmore. It ain't got to be nobody else's. It's yours.
Who was the guy? Not Foy. The other guy whose eye fell out during the game.
Oh, Alan Ray.
He was
Alan
dead
Ray.
nice.
A-Ray 2K, for sure. He's another 2,000-point scorer at Villanova. But I would go Josh Hart because, you know, I'm biased. We grew up together. I've known Josh since we were sophomores in high school. I saw him and his now wife. I drove with a friend to go see them off at prom. That's how far back.
Gosh.
Yeah, that's how far back.
That's amazing.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then we have no tournaments about to start.
Wait, how bad were those prom outfits back then? I need to like.
I'm picturing a lot of bow ties.
Just so bad. Prom was so
A lot of
bad.
bow ties.
Yeah.
Good call. Smart. All right. Fair.
Kris, brackets came out yesterday. When it's all said and done, there's a lot of good teams this year. Who is the national champion?
I know what you're doing.
I mean,
You know what he's doing, Kris.
There's one clear-cut best team in the best in the best conference all season long. I would like your opinion.
I'm gonna give you the answer that you're looking for. I think Florida.
Let's go. Let's go.
I think Florida has the.
He's been
best
talking about
track
this for an hour, by the way. Setting you up for this question.
Well,
We've been talking about this in pre-production.
First of all, we should have been the #1 overall seed.
yeah,
Get it out, Chandler. Get it out.
We have the longest travel somehow, and we're still going to come out on top.
I'm sorry, Kris.
They
Sorry you were a
They have
pawn.
a great coach. They got a good roster. They played extremely tough. And they kind of remind me of I don't want to say they were like any of our teams, but they kind of could just put the game out of hand like we could. Like, before you know it, we're up 5, and then it's 82-69. The game's over. It's like, dang.
Wow, love it.
Did you feel better?
Just the validation I need.
Yeah, sorry about that. Kris, we appreciate the time. Enjoy the madness.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's all good.
We'll be right back. You can't start torturing people with Florida. Shall we speak of a little fun in the West over the weekend? Suns and Lakers, Luka and his squad just cruised 107-96. Of course, no LeBron. Bradley Beal missed the second half. Luka finished with 33, 11, and 8. They do get back into the win column. There you go. And Luka continues to look like, hey, I'm Luka. We know he is a great regular season player, but we also know the playoffs are a different thing altogether. So talk to me, Lou, about what Luka's going to look like in the playoffs.
It's going to look like those highlights right there.
Okay.
You know, this is a guy in 50 games in playoff experience is averaging nearly a triple-double, as you can see on the screen, 39 and 8. Now, that's somebody you can go to sleep at night as their coach and know that the next morning when we're getting ready to play this basketball game, I'm going to have a guy that's going to be there. He's going to be prepared, and he's going to be ready. And you pair him up with a LeBron James, this is going to be a scary team. But he's going to be Luka. Luka's going to do Luka things. He's going to get guys involved. He's going to be aggressive on the offensive end, all things. Now, I will say, we're 50 games in at this point. Leave the referees alone. I want to see that maturation of his game. Leave the referees alone.
No, we're like 65 games in.
Yeah, because maybe, I just feel like maybe we get something better out of it, you know, because every once in a while.
Oh, you're telling him to leave the referees alone?
Yeah, because I want to see these averages go up a point or two. I want to see the assists go ahead and go up to 10, and the rebounds go up to about 11, and you can do that by playing every possession. I think every once in a while he takes possessions off because he's worried about fouls or worried about the refereeing. This is the time for you to be in a new uniform, new attitude. Go out there, show everybody that I am exactly who you think I am. But leave the referees alone. Don't take those particular plays off. Don't take those possessions off. And let's see where these averages can go. So I look forward to it. I'm excited.
This is a guy that led the Mavs 9 months ago to the NBA Finals. So if we're talking about playoffs, I don't think we're concerned about Luka showing up in the playoffs or being impactful in the playoffs. The dude is an absolute stud. He's elite. And I think this season has showed you that the Lakers, they can win games by playing defense. It shows you how important a guy like Jackson Hayes is. When you put him back in the lineup, how much more that expands Luka's game just by giving him a lob threat. And then Austin Reeves, you got to show him some love. LeBron goes down. This dude's numbers are crazy up. He's being efficient. He's going nuts. I think he had 37 or 38 the other night. Follows it up again last night with 27 or 28 points. He's efficient. You can give him the ball. He can play off the ball. So he's showed that he can clearly do more with a bigger role. And Luka's getting more comfortable as days goes on. And again, this team doesn't have to have these explosive offensive nights because they've figured out a way to win games and to at least be in games just by playing defense.
Can we look at the standings really quickly? Because it's never too early to start looking ahead at what we want to see as fans. What do we dream of? So the Lakers, right, there is a messy tie going on right here with the Grizzlies, the Nuggets, and the Rockets.
The Rockets are back.
Who do you want? If you're the Lakers, I know you don't get your choice, but let's say you did. Who are you thinking?
The Rockets or the Grizzlies. I don't want the Thunder.
No!
I don't want the Nuggets. So,
no, you don't want the Nuggets.
But again, I think it's so jumbled up right there. We're going to have to wait a little bit. But yeah, if I had my pick, I'd keep it how it is right now. Give me 4 or 5. Give me Memphis. Obviously, I'd prefer home court, and I think they can obviously flip with the amount of time we have left. But I don't want Jokic in the playoffs, and I damn sure don't want SGA in the Thunder.
No, you're not getting the Thunder. No chance. But you could get the Rockets, which is crazy that the Rockets.
I would like the Rockets on the Lakers.
Fair enough. Let's talk Suns for a second, Chandler. 15 of the last 21 have been losses, and if it started today, they would miss the play-in. Oh, man. What are we doing? Is this over?
Yeah, it's tough, but they're also one game out of the play-in, and this is the Dallas Mavericks, who are talking about forfeiting games because they don't have enough players to play, which I didn't even know that was a thing. I don't even think we're talking about that today, but they literally might not play games because they don't have bodies. So that's the team that's one game ahead of them to get in the play-in. Again, it's been such an awful season. It feels like right when it can get worse, it gets worse for this team, but I guess the goal is to get in the play-in, to beat the team with no players, to jump them in the standings with whatever 20 more games left. So, again, this just hasn't worked. Clearly, there's going to be moves this offseason, and this is not going to be the same team that comes back to Phoenix next year. But that being said, they are one game behind the Dallas Mavericks to get in the play-in tournament. And then again, anything can happen. So I think it's one game at a time, but they don't look much better.
I'm not sure if they're trying to get in the play-in. Yeah. It looks like a team that's not having a lot of fun playing together. It doesn't look like they enjoy the coaching and the direction that they're getting. It's not passing the vibe check. You know what I mean? And again, we talk about this team, so much talent, but they have their issues on the defensive end. In every game now, we're starting to see at least some type of interaction between Bud and one of his superstar guys.
Yeah, we are.
It looked like there's a disconnection there, and losing 15 of your last 21. I don't even know if this is a team that's even trying to get in the play-in. I think they're trying to wash their hands with this thing,
just be done
and start fresh.
The love of God, just end it.
Yeah, that's my opinion sitting here behind this desk. But I've also been on some bad teams where you really just can't get right. So it looks bad. The optics are bad. If this team can get in the play-in, I still think they can be disrupted because I just can't turn my back on the amount of talent that they have on this team. But it doesn't even look like they're trying to get that play-in spot.
And by the way, it's one game. You play like the Kings.
I know, but it's more than just the game, like the numbers on the standings. It's like what they look like. What Lou just said, the vibe check is awful. KD had another heated exchange with Bud. We've already started the whole game of who's coming back after next season. We got the Bradley Beal quote we can get into, but KD, Booker, Bud, and Bradley Beal, who's even coming back next season? It's going to be funny when it's just Bradley Beal, by the way. After all of this,
I think it's gonna be Book. We gonna finish this thing. We're gonna finish it how we started. Book he's a Phoenix Sun.
Does he want to finish there?
That's another conversation. I think Book does a great job of keeping his cards close to his hand, and we don't really know much. We don't really hear much about his displeasures about anything. But I think when it's all said and done, Bradley Beal finds another home. KD finds another home. And as much money as they owe Bud, it looks like he probably won't be there either. So,
good Lord, how many coaches are there?
We just saw the video of Hart and THIBS, and was like,
it's different.
This is different.
Way different.
This is different. This doesn't feel the same way. It doesn't feel like there's mutual respect here. It feels like this has run its course, and this is going to end with KD getting moved, I think, before they get off Bud, who I think is 5-year, $50 million deal, whatever. I agree with him. I think the last one to go should be Devin Booker. When you draft a guy, he's the longest. He's their guy. And I think Bradley Beal, again, with his quote this weekend, it's all dicey. It's all going to change this summer, but this just isn't working. There's too many videos. There's too many issues. There's too, you know what I mean? There's this. It's just, and they're not winning games. They don't play defense. It's just a bad situation.
By the way, the Beal quote was, "I'm still playing in the NBA. I still have the best job in the world, and I still have my no trade clause. So I'm smiling every day." Translation: getting paid, don't care. Anybody want to argue with that?
That's what we call leverage. And that's knowing that your future is in your own hands, and with that, worst case scenario, I am in control of how this is going to go for me and how my career is going to continue. So, all things considered, he should be smiling every day.
Winning.
Yeah, it's like, say what you want, joke's on you, because I'm not going anywhere, and I'm making a lot of money, and I'm healthy, and you know what I mean?
I'll go if I feel like it.
Yeah,
literally.
So I think that's why those no trade clauses are so valuable.
Well played. That's we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back to wrap things up.
Run it back, run it up, run it back.
Let's do one of these. You buy in that. Is that new graphics? I can't even tell. After the Nuggets lose to the Wizards on Saturday, post-game, Jokic comes out with, "I think who you are in the regular season, that's who you are in the playoffs. I think you cannot flip a switch." We don't want to hear that, do we, Chandler? Are you buying that?
I am buying it. There's no, you have to create habits that are all season long that they don't just turn on. And I remember the Heat a couple years ago. It's like, oh, they're playoff, and they had some success. But this is a long, starting from preseason, where you develop habits and consistent roles, and that carries over into the postseason. So I agree with him. I also there's nothing to panic. Everyone has bad games like this. The Lakers just lose to the Nets. They lose to the Wizards. These teams are still going to win games. There's still talent all across the league, but I do agree you can't just turn it on and flip a switch and all of a sudden, be your best version of yourself. That is a slow, steady climb, a process that happens all season long.
I think there is a switch, but I don't think it's physical. I think it's mental. I think, guys, you become more locked in during the playoffs because you don't want to be that guy that blow an assignment. You don't want to be that guy that doesn't understand what you're supposed to be doing on the defensive end, what spots you're supposed to be in, little things that coaches have rigged up for you to go out there and win a playoff series. You don't want to be the guy to mess that up. And so the switch is mentally, and because of your mental switch, that turns into you playing better basketball because you're more locked in. And also, you're playing one team in a 7-game series opposed to getting prepared for multiple teams at a time. I think that's where the switch is. Now,
they lost to the Wizards
was there a guy cruising through the season all year, and now all of a sudden he's going to have these big scoring outbursts? That part of it I agree with, but the switch comes in where you're mentally locked in, not physically.
I mean, haven't they even had on their own team a guy with sort of a switch in Jamal Murray?
I think that's mental. I think that, and you're playing up to it. When people start saying you're playoff this and you're playoff that, and this is the version of you that we get in the playoffs, that comes with a responsibility, and for that locks you in.
And luckily, there's no world in which the Denver Nuggets will have to play the Wizards in playoffs.
No.
Ever. So
might get swept if they do.
It's just one of those things where you lose to a bad team. We've got like 15 seconds left. Anybody want to share a story from the weekend?
Yeah, I had a great week. Shout out to my mom. Shout out to my daughter Zoe and my mom Janice. They both celebrated birthdays this week.
I love
happy
that.
birthday.
All right, happiest of birthdays.
All right.
And you let your sunburn heal, and we're happy for you.
Yeah, see, I'm not that burnt. I'm back. My shoulders are peeling. Go Gators, go Jesus.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Run it up, then run it back, yeah.